Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're looking at the Ring Doorbell today. And before I get into the review, I wanted to talk about an experience I had with an agency representing the Ring Doorbell company a few months ago. A company called Famebit had reached out to me and wanted to pay me to do a positive review of this product. And I turned that down because I don't do reviews for money, first of all, and I also don't guarantee a positive review even if a company sends an evaluation unit to the channel for me to review. So those two criteria were not acceptable to Famebit, and we walked away from the deal, obviously. But I did want to point that out, that this company was either knowingly or unknowingly having someone representing them asking people to review the product favorably for money and for free product. And I felt that was a very bad practice. And as a result, I avoided reviewing this product. I even had some people requesting me to review it because they were curious about it, but I kind of just shied away from that. But over the last couple of weeks and months, a lot of people who I know and trust have been buying these things and been very happy with them. So I figured I would get one because I kind of needed a doorbell, and this was really the only game in town at that price at the moment. So I did buy one, and I also bought the Chime adapter, which gives you an indoor doorbell for it also, so you can hear when somebody comes to the door and rings your doorbell. So I just wanted to start that off with that caveat because it did leave a bad taste in my mouth initially, but I did want to take a look at the product anyhow, and that is what we're going to do in this review. So the way this works is you just install it onto your front door. If you have an existing doorbell, you can power the Ring Doorbell with what was powering your other doorbell. It can actually draw power out of whatever wires you have hooked up. On mine, I just attached it and used the internal battery, and surprisingly, the battery on this thing lasts a really long time. They say about 6 months to a year. Mine's been up for a week, and I'm still getting 100% back on the battery status in the app. So I've been very impressed with the battery life on this thing, and it has been used. I mean, it's detecting motion when people are coming to the door and dropping off packages or whatever. So it's not just sitting there; it's actually getting some use, and surprisingly, the battery life has just been pretty exceptional on it. The way it looks, though, is a little bit intimidating to people that are accustomed to just seeing a doorbell on somebody's door. It actually does look like a camera and something you might see at a business or a bank or something. So people have been a little reluctant to actually push the button. More often than not, they've been knocking on the door because they're not sure what to do with it. What's nice about the way it works, though, is that when somebody does get within the proximity of the doorbell, and I'll show you on the app how to set up the motion sensing zones in a second, when they get within the proximity of it, it will actually switch on and start recording and notify you with a notification that comes into your phone as well as onto your smartwatch if you have a watch paired up with your phone. It works on Windows as well as Android and iOS, so pretty much anything that you wear that will take notifications from your phone will actually notify you this way. I did buy also the $30 Chime adapter, which adds an internal chime into your house, because when somebody comes up to the doorbell and does push the button, it makes noise, but it only makes noise to the person at the door. If you're not able to hear things outside of your door, you're not going to hear the doorbell ring if you don't have your phone active or your watch on your wrist. So this little device connects up with your Wi-Fi, and when somebody pushes the button on the doorbell, it will go off as well and let you know that somebody's at the door. Now, what's cool is that when you have somebody at the door, even if they don't push the button, as long as that motion's detected, you can actually have a conversation with them and talk to them at the door. So this is what it sounds like when someone's talking to you.
Can you let me in? It's cold outside. Please?
And this is what it sounds like when you're talking back to them.
Get off my porch.
And again, what's cool about this is that they don't have to push the button for you to have that conversation. All it needs to do is detect some kind of motion, then you can pop in and have that conversation. In fact, when you get the alert and you pop the app open, it immediately brings you to the camera view so you can begin interacting with that person if you choose to do so. Now, it's important to point out, though, that you cannot view the camera unless someone has pushed the button on the doorbell or it has detected motion. So you can't just pop in and just watch what's going on your front door whenever you want. You can only get into it when something actually triggers it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The video quality on it is okay. It's 720p, but it's a very narrow field of view. So it's a wide angle camera, but it kind of looks like you're looking through a peephole. So there's a lot of section of the frame that is not visible. So you'll need to just keep that in mind. It's very heavily compressed as well, so it's not the best quality image you'll see, but it does have night vision that's passable, so it'll work no matter what the lighting conditions are. It will adjust automatically, and you should be able to see things. And the sound pickup on it is actually pretty decent. decent too, so it should work pretty well. All right, so here we are inside the app. Now what will happen is that if you have a notification, the app is going to pop right up with the camera view the second you go into it. So without a notification, you can get in here and kind of look at your past activity. Now I want to point out here at the bottom, you'll see that my trial period for my cloud recording ends in 21 days. Without the cloud recording option, this thing is pretty much useless because if you miss a motion event, you can't go in and review it again, because if you're not paying them for the cloud service, there's no recording at all. So unless you catch it right when it happens, you can't actually see what happened, nor do they even store anything from your doorbell. So there's no, free tier that gives you a day of recording storage. It's either you got it or you don't. Now it's $3 a month, which isn't all that expensive. However, it's $3 a month per device that you have monitoring your property. So what's happening right now is that they have just the doorbell product, but in a couple of weeks they have a new camera that's coming out as well that I actually think is going to be a pretty nice product, but they're going to charge you an additional $3 a month to keep adding each of these other devices to your repertoire. So if you have two of these things set up, you're paying $6 a month for the cloud service. It doesn't look like you can reduce one of them, so only have the cloud service on one device versus another. So every time you add a device, they're going to take more money out of your pocket. So there really is, you really can't use this product the way you're seeing it without paying for this cloud service, because again, you're not going to have this record of stuff going on your door. And if you miss the notification, then you're not going to be able to see what happens. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Now I've got my Ring Doorbell paired up here at the top, as you can see, as well as the Chime, and you can add again additional devices here as well. So you can have multiple Chimes, multiple cameras, but again, every time you add a camera, it's going to cost you another $3 a month for that monitoring service, and I do hope they change that. So what I'll do here is just go to one of my motion events here, so I'll just hit that one, and you can see here I was setting up one of the shots we were using for the video here, and this was a motion detected event, and it'll basically record everything that happened until the motion stops, so you get a good idea as to exactly what went on there. So this one went on for about 30 seconds or so because things were still moving around. You have the ability to save it as well, so you can hit the little share icon here and just go over to save video, and you can drop that into your camera roll. That will be savable on both the Android, Windows, and the iOS platform. They do put their little watermark in the bottom there, so I guess if you get on the evening news catching some perpetrator in the act, Ring will get their logo displayed on the B-roll for the news station. Now, one of the things I've been surprised about is how well the motion detection works, both from the standpoint of not giving me a lot of false alarms, but also how well it does at detecting actual motion as well. So just about every person that has walked in front of my door in the last week has been picked up by this thing, and I've been sent their mugshot as they're walking around, so it's worked pretty well. There are some settings here to adjust those motion detection events there, so I can click on my doorbell here, go over to motion settings, and if I go over to zones and range, you can set up exactly how the doorbell works. So you see right now I've got it kind of on the low end of the spectrum as far as its range is concerned, because if I go out too far, I kind of start picking up things in the road, cars driving by and that sort of thing. So I wanted to reduce it a little bit for just the yard in front of my house as well as my front porch. And here you can see exactly how I have it set up, and I can actually disable individual zones here. So I can knock off zone 1 if I have some movement there that I'm not concerned about. I can also drag this up a little bit higher and increase the distance from it. But I found for me this has actually worked really, really well in preventing both false alarms, but actually picking up things that are important, and that's worked pretty well. It'd be nice if I could have overlaid the camera on top of that. A lot of systems allow you to do that. This one's a little bit more general than that, but I think they're really shooting for simplicity here, and I think they've achieved it. And actually the motion detection is among the best I've seen on a consumer security product like this. So that is the Ring Doorbell. There isn't much else to see here, actually. It's a pretty simple product. I am looking forward to their camera attachment that's coming out soon, which will function like the doorbell, but it's just a camera that detects motion, which is a cool thing. However, that's going to add significant cost to the annual cost of ownership, because adding a second device, at least at the moment, is going to double the cost of the cloud storage service. And that seems to me a little bit excessive, especially given what the cost of entry is on the product in the first place. So just the doorbell and the little chime thing, which you need to have it actually work like a doorbell, it's a $230 expenditure, and you can certainly get cheap doorbells that do that for far less. And to have that functionality of recording not be there unless you're paying additional annual fees really doesn't feel all that appealing to me. I would like the choice of maybe to store things locally on my own hardware, or perhaps something of a limited nature on a free tier to recognize the relatively sizable investment it's going to take to get into this product in the first place. And if you have a couple of doors that you want to put these things on, you're going to be paying for each of those devices hooked up, even if you only have one account. And I just feel like they should be pricing that better. A good comparison is the Canary interior security camera, which I'm quite fond of. They have a free tier where they store your video for 24 hours, which for me is enough, because if something happened, I can get in there, within a day, download it to my phone and capture that video. On the Ring Doorbell, if you're not paying for that service, you get nothing. In fact, if you miss the motion event, you missed it. There's no way to ever go back to it again unless you're paying them on a monthly or annual basis. And as you add devices, it's really not a good way to get customers to buy more hardware, especially if the cost of ownership will escalate at least at the current price, as it will. So I think that is something that needs to change. I would like to see also some different sounding door chimes too. So the door chime is okay, but I'm replacing a cheap doorbell that had like 15 different chimes, including the Star Spangled Banner, which was very cool to have as my doorbell. So right now there's only one chime that you can have. It'd be nice to have multiple chimes so you can know which door somebody's ringing perhaps within the home. So that's obviously a software thing they could probably change. And the last thing is that they really didn't need to pay people initially to start speaking favorably about the product. And from what I've learned about the company over the last couple of weeks, it doesn't feel like this is the kind of company that would do that. This might have been Famebit kind of just doing what they do. And perhaps the Ring Doorbell marketing people not aware of what they were getting themselves into. At least that's what I hope, because this really is a quality product that's well engineered, and they really didn't need to have those initial marketing tactics to get the word out on this thing, because it actually is pretty good, and I hope that is the case. They have some things to improve, of course, but as it stands as a single standalone kind of doorbell, it actually does what it says it can do, and it does it pretty well. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the generosity of my Patreon supporters. If you find the channel helpful, you too can contribute for as little as $1 a month. Visit Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more.